The individuals currently at the absolute pinnacle of global wealth and performance almost never start at the top. If you trace the origins of modern tech titans like Elon Musk, you don't find vast inherited empires. You find very ordinary, often lower middle class environments. They spent their early years completely off the radar, dealing with everyday friction. The same rule applies to global sports icons. Players like Lionel Messi didn't emerge from pristine, ultra-wealthy academies. They developed their foundational skills in incredibly modest, challenging conditions. We see this clearly with figures like MS Dhoni. Before holding world championship trophies, he was working as a railway ticket collector. His environment was defined by routine struggle, not luxury. When you look at the data, a humble, middle-class background isn't a barrier to extreme success. The daily friction of a normal life actually acts as a highly effective incubator for it. Once these self-made individuals achieve massive wealth, their immediate instinct is completely natural. They want to give their children the absolute comfort they were denied. They buy the best cars so their kids never have to wait for a crowded bus in the heat. They hire help so their children never have to navigate a broken appliance or a power outage. They meticulously script every hour to eliminate struggle. This chart shows the exact problem. By perfectly insulating a child from daily annoyances, parents actively strip away the environmental stressors that built their relentless drive. Without that everyday friction, the child exists in an emotional vacuum, never practicing problem-solving on a small scale. It is an act of profound love, but practically speaking, wrapping a child in a perfect bubble functions as an unintentional sabotage of their natural psychological development. To understand why this happens, we have to look at a metric called the Adversity Quotient, or AQ. In the real world, a high AQ is often a much stronger predictor of long-term survival than a high IQ. This chart shows how a mind processes an unexpected setback. Do they find a new route or shut down? When a self-made person faces a massive financial hit, you see them bounce back rapidly. They find a way to recover. They survive the drop because they know the bottom. They've lived at zero before, so the fear of the unknown doesn't paralyze them. But introduce a minor setback to a pampered youth. Lacking exposure to failure, the sudden shock triggers a catastrophic emotional collapse. Your adversity quotient isn't something you are born with. It is built by the amount of unscripted friction you experienced and survived during your formative years. You can think of mental resilience exactly like the human physical immune system. The mechanics are identical. Biologically, if you keep a human body in a completely sterile, germ-free bubble, you aren't protecting it at all. You make it fatally vulnerable to the first everyday illness it eventually encounters. The mind works the same way. If you shield a child from bad weather, from riding public transit, or from minor social rejections, their brain simply forgets how to fight off routine emotional distress. They actually develop a severe mental immune deficiency. When they inevitably step into the real world, they are uniquely vulnerable to severe anxiety because they have no psychological antibodies. Minor daily household stressors aren't annoyances that you need to fix for them. They are vital psychological vaccines required for a child's long-term mental health. So if you've already achieved a comfortable life, how do you build AQ in your kids? You obviously don't need to force them into actual poverty to teach them a lesson. Instead, you have to use a strategy of engineered, controlled discomfort. You intentionally reintroduce manageable friction back into their daily routine. First, you have to stop automatically solving their minor physical problems. Stop doing the basic tasks that they are completely capable of figuring out themselves. Let them deal with the inconvenience. Second, when they do inevitably trip or fail at something, you must actively withhold your own immediate panic. Don't rush in to smooth it over. Letting them fall physically trains their brain. It sets up a new baseline where failure is normal, highly survivable, and nothing to be terrified of. Utilizing controlled discomfort requires a shift in how you view your job. You have to stop acting as a protective shield and start acting as a resilience trainer. This strategy is especially critical in one specific domain: financial reality and everyday budgeting. Parents have to enforce a visible connection between the things a child wants and the hard labor required to get them. If they want a new phone, They need to see exactly how many hours of work it takes to pay for it. Forcing a child to understand the true value of money is the only way to prevent the systemic entitlement that routinely destroys adult financial stability. The greatest legacy you can leave the next generation isn't a life completely free of struggle. In fact, a life without friction leaves them entirely defenseless. A parent's most profound gift is providing their child with the strength and experience required to carry their own heavy weights.